Ah, he's a miracle. Gordon's alive. Hello, everybody. Oh. Yes, so true. There we go. That's there we go. That's more like it. Why didn't my thing change? I don't know. Hello, everybody. Hello. How we doing? How we doing? Welcome in, Lycan. Good to see you. A doll was recently found dead in a rice paddy. It's the only known instance of a knick-knack paddywhack. What? Why did I press that? Why do pirates not know the alphabet? Because they always get stuck at sea. Got him. Got him. How are we doing? How are we doing? Your shout liking real quick. But yeah, we're back. Back, baby. With more God of War Ragnarok. Back with a bang. Back with a vengeance. You know? Back with a vengeance, baby. How's everyone doing tonight? Oh, sorry I'm a little bit late. I had to wait on a delivery because some stuff was coming with Amazon. I needed to be here to sign it and verify it was me. Well, and it came about 20 minutes ago, so taking advantage of those Prime Day deals, you know what I'm saying? I'm alright. Can't complain. Can't complain, you know? Can't complain. You know, work was okay. Working from home, so nothing, no drama, nothing too drama. Yeah, just chilling. Had a few streams up in the background. I think I had a tiny stream up. I was watching Hypnoshark, who's a really he's like world record. I think he's got the world record for CTR and maybe Nitro Kart as well. He's like a stupidly good crash racing speedrunner, and he does normal crash speedruns as well. Real cool dude. I do say so myself. But yeah, just watching him for a little bit. Watching Tiny. I think who else was online? I know Emmy's on now, and I noticed she changed her name. I do like it actually. Alien Goddess.
Said you know where to look for Surtur.
Yeah, I unlocked the secrets in his shrine when I was in Muspelheim with Thor.
Thor?
Don't worry, he didn't see me go in.
That was not my worry.
When we find Surtur, we'll have to convince him to combine with his wife, Sinmara.
Combine?
Yeah, when the two of them, join, they'll create an enormous Asgard-destroying monster.
Oh my.
Yeah, that's a thing.
Apologies. I have some doubts regarding negotiations with Rasfelger in Helheim. My thinking is that she may be more amenable to speaking with a member of the, deceased. Mimir, you're needed.
Oh, death is a skill now. I suppose these two can survive a bit without me. Brother, if you wouldn't mind.
Very well.
Many thanks. We'll catch up with you later.
Fair enough. Okay, so it's just...
Hey, I think I can see Surtur's forge in the distance.
Alright, so it's Atreus and Kratos. The summoning. Oh. Let's go down here. Yeah.
His wife. Where is she?
Niflheim.
There we go. Oh no, I'm doing good.
Head down towards that tower.
Say hopefully I'm hoping I might get a couple more upgrades, maybe. In terms of stream. Maybe I might get... Because I've had this capture card for like 3 years now.
Heads up! It keeps dodging! How about arrows?
I might invest in an upgrade of sorts.
Got some Bifrost on you! Be careful! I wonder if they saw their prophecy and decided to isolate themselves in their home realms to fight it.
Understandable.
Hopefully they'll understand why Ragnarok needs to happen now.
Ooh, divine ashes. Fuck you, Odin.
Outcome.
But yeah, no, I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Look, over there.
Ooh. It'd be best if I use the say the axe for a little bit, you know. Hiya! Blonk. That's enough. Thank you very much. Good fight. Ooh, I think we're going to anything nice planned for the week or the weekend. That was unfortunate. Okay. Not really. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. What have I got marked? Oh, is it Vanaheim?
I think the forge might be past the slop.
You know that.
A hunch. When I was here before, I got a pretty good feel for the layout.
We got past the Fall of Sector 7 plate. Oh, nice. Nice. Let's go.
We need to be ready for Surtur.
So you're
He
probably...
doesn't want to help us.
Ready.
Prophecy says he and Sinmara join. But who knows how they're gonna feel about it now?
You would try to force these primordial beings into submission.
Well, I don't know. We can't win this war without them, right? We gotta be close. I can hear the forge.
Oh, is that a... Oh, a Nornir chest. Okay. What the actual fuck? How am I gonna get that then?
Outcome. Guess sigil arrows don't work on that. Alka.
No link today. Oh, there was. Let's go. Okay, that's one. Okay, that's one. That's two.
Alka.
Well, how the fuck am I gonna get that? Hmm. Oh wait, can I? Hold on.
Guess sigil arrows don't work on that. Alka.
I thought maybe I could freeze the lava and I could stand on it. No. There's got to be a way, though. Surely, right? Oh, wait. Red! Hello! Oh, Elden Ring, let's go, baby. Our stream, buddy. Good to see ya. Good to see you as always. Our stream did. Tiring just to beat the boss in Stormvale. Oh, Stormvale Castle. Oh. Okay. I think I know the one you mean.
Stream with 19 viewers.
I think I know the one you mean. Yes, yes. Oh, nice, nice. Is it a first playthrough of Elden Ring? What the yeah, those falcons do be a pain. I got out of war. It goes good. Was that the place you died by? The place you died by going backwards? It might have been. Yes. Might have been. Was it Stormvale Castle, or was no? That was, or was that Ria Lucaria? Ooh. I don't know now. They look very similar. Yeah, by falling down the tower. I'm not sure if that was Stormvale Castle. Because Stormvale Castle's where you fight Margit, isn't it? Or Morgit, or whatever his name is. Foul tarnished. You know, that dude, right? Yeah, first stage playthrough, rebought the game for PC and go to the base game, having a lot of fun. Nice, nice. Yeah, I've got it on. I originally played a tiny little bit of it on PlayStation. I got to Stormvale Castle as well, and then stopped, and then I decided to do I'm replaying it with a friend now on PC. So we're doing seamless co-op mod. The mod for it anyway. The seamless co-op mod. So yeah, so I'm doing normally on weekends at the minute I'm doing a co-op run with my good friend. What class did I pick? Ooh, I didn't pick samurai. I picked. Was it the first one? Shit, what was the first one? There was like soldier. I think it was soldier. I think it might have been soldier. It had like a bit of everything. All of the stats I wanted, like health and all that stuff. I think it's soldier. I might be wrong though. I think. Yes, that is my character name. I decided because when I've played Dark Souls 3 with the same friend I play in it now, Ben. When I played Dark Souls 3 co-op, I called my character Lahi which is a reference to Final Fantasy 14, Shadowbringers, which is quite funny. And then I thought I'd call myself Lord Erectus, and I think I mean it's starred out like when you look at my character, and he has I think he's orangey pink complexion, really wide nose, and his jaw is like it's sticking out. It's like out there and it's pointed. It's really, really not. It's funny to look at, but it's like, oh no. I was going to go with Samurai class, but went with the Confessor just because of the sword and shield combo. That's fair. I was told shields are not very good in this game, so I'm currently dual wielding at the moment. And we also unlocked the DLC, so I've actually got reverse grip blades. But you can attach one slot, but you get two of them. So I'm like double reverse blades. That's really fucking nice. It's a really nice weapon. But yeah, welcome in, Raiders. It depends on your build, I suppose. Yeah. Well, I'm still like. I'm very much strength and dexterity. I'm starting to pull away more towards dexterity because the reverse grip, although the swords I have, and the ones I've been using and liking, they tend to lean more towards dexterity. But I do have a lot of strength anyway, just in case, just to buff up the damage. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with my build. But yeah, welcome in, Raiders. For those who don't know me, I'm Welsh Bandicoot. I'm a variety streamer of some sorts. Crash Bandicoot fanboy till I die. And I also love me some Final Fantasy 14 as well. And I normally play retro-ish games, but we are doing a little modern trend at the moment. We're currently playing through God of War Ragnarok. I played 2018, I think it was last year. And then after this, we're going to be playing Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, which I've not touched, which will be a first playthrough, and I've not touched the game. So I might have seen bits and pieces of like trailers and stuff, but I've not seen actual gameplay. Not actual gameplay, but not experienced the game for myself yet. So that's going to be, that should be a good time. And then after that, we'll be doing Horizon Forbidden West. Again, that'll be a first playthrough as well. Oh, stop my control on the desk. But yeah, that's kind of what I do. I normally play platformers, retro platformers like Spyro, Crash, all that lot. I do try and play different games. Like say, I played Final Fantasy for the first time. JRPGs, so like Tales of series. We've done Devil May Cry for the first time. We're going through the Assassin's Creed games. I try and mix it up as much as I can. With familiar games and new games to me as well, just to kind of keep my brain active, you know. But I've been to check the dogs. No worries. If you need a raid, if you need a raid and run dread, please do. And that goes to anybody who's come in with a raid as well. If you need to dash, go for it. If you've been streaming live for a little bit, I hope everyone had a good time with Dread stream. And yeah, go give him a follow. He's a cool dude. Cool dude. Lovely stuff. Right, but yeah. Let's go. And, well, we're currently in... So, this is kind of endgame, I think. Ragnarok at the minute. So, spoilers, I guess. If you haven't played it up to this point. Because we're in Muspelheim for the second... Well, we're in Muspelheim properly now. For story purposes. I found this Nornir chest, and I have no idea how to get to this last letter. I don't really know. Oh.
Guess sigil arrows don't work on that.
Thought maybe the fire would blow it. Maybe. Can't really reach from where I'm at. I can't really reach the arrow. Like, I can't even reach the pedestal, so I'm a bit unsure. We got 2 out of 3 at least, but maybe it's something we can unlock later on. I don't know. But let's go find Suitor.
Something ahead. Be ready.
Flame Phantom? Oh, hi. Yeah, we fought one of these earlier. Well, last stream I think literally last stream we fought one. I think it was a Flame Phantom. Oh, we gotta get rid of the fucking statues. Oh shit. Oh, I know where they are. Yeah, you can see them. Oh, cute little bitch. Yeah, just as a forewarning, I'm not very good at it. The combat, I am pretty bad at this game. Just before you start like going like, come on, why are you using your shield and dodge? And I'm like, even the game is telling me I should do that, and I'm not. What the fuck? Should use maybe I should use the the drop me spin. I mean, I've taken out some Berserker souls. I think it's like 2 or 3. I've done all the Droga holes. I've done all the I've done all the the realm tears as well from Helheim. Did something, but then they were mainly for like weapon upgrades. Exorcist. Okay, where's the last one? Whoa. Aha, there is too. Good spot. Good spot, Tris. But yeah, this game has definitely kicked up a notch the last few streams compared to start. It definitely was a slow burner this game, but it's definitely picked up the pace. Ow. Ow.
You're on fire, but you probably already know that.
Let's go. And then Kratos is just gonna go. Nice.
Nice job. I'm really sweaty.
Let us find Surtur.
Ooh, heavy runic attack. Vinsfaller Windstorm. Fallen. An array of chaotic cyclones rampages through the field, damaging all enemies in their path. Oh, that's quite good, actually. You know what? I'll take that. mastered another thing, so I'll craft a mod. Yeah, as you can see, I've gone for mainly damage, just so I can get more damage. Yeah, I've unlocked all skills at this point, so I'm now with Atreus at the very least. I'm just going around upgrading skills to max, so that if I do want to switch, I can be like, oh, I can just switch to this one for a bit, or I can try this one out and not really be hindered. Which is nice.
Through the broken gate. I think we're close.
Whoa. Okay, so let's go through here then. So we're trying to find Suta, the fire giant, at the moment.
That's gotta be him.
We will ask.
Suta's forge. Hello. Approach the Ashen Man.
Hello? Surtur?
That's a lot of swords.
Well, either it isn't him, or he's ignoring us. Come on.
That is what is this? Is this Game of Thrones, the Iron Throne? How many swords are out here? Holy shit. Hello?
Hello?
We seek a fire giant.
Go away.
Oh.
What just happened? Hey, that wasn't...
We deal with these first.
Oh, we didn't like that, did you?
Another one?
Focus! He is the guardian of this realm. It is his right to defend it.
Oh no, come on.
Behind you! Look out! You're on fire! But you probably already know that.
Oh, someone's T-posing. Nice. I T-pose for dominance.
It's bad!
Health.
Behind you! Incoming!
Oh, sorry, Trace. Didn't mean to throw it at you. That wasn't friendly fire at all. I think you're a bit of a shithead, though. Oh, nice. Punch, 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 punch. Rip that out. Thank you very much. Good night.
Man, if that is Surtur, he's got a lot to answer for.
As you said, we need him.
Ooh, Chaos Flame. Let's go. So that's level 7 now. Boon of Fury. Ooh, okay. Ah, I'm only missing one amulet. That's kind of wild. Hello again.
I won't help you. Who are you?
Who you seek,
Oh.
and what's left of him.
Why won't you help us?
I don't want to.
Elaborate.
We'll die.
Right. Because you've got so much to live for.
Not me. Her.
So what's the point of all this? You keep separate from Sinmara just so you can sit here and wait to die? At least if you joined with her, you'd be together again.
We are together.
Oh.
Got her heart. She's got mine. It's not much, but it's enough.
But you're not even...
Have you ever been in love? It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
And Odin will succeed. And all realms save Asgard will fall.
Yeah, he must die. It's true. But I won't sacrifice her any more than you would him. Sorry.
Come.
Wait. Those blades. May I see them?
Oh, the Blades of Chaos. He's like, I made those.
Yeah, there's primordial fire in those.
They are not of these lands.
Shouldn't matter.
Oh. Oh shit.
Yeah, that could work.
What could?
Put those in here, and I'll become your monster. But I don't want her involved at all.
But the prophecy says you two have to combine. Sure this'll work?
What have I got to live for? Not here. Follow me.
It's like, okay, we're doing it now then, I guess. Like, oh, yep, I knew that. I knew that. Don't worry about it. I knew that.
Where do we go?
Spark of the world.
Which is...
The place where Niflheim and Muspelheim meet. Where the first realms came into existence.
Ooh, okay,
You won't be
okay.
able to get through this, huh?
Fucking hell, he just melted it. Alright. I mean, he is a fire giant, so that makes sense. But that was pretty fucking cool.
Surtur?
Still me. Better than walking.
What awaits us at this spark of the world?
Magic, primordial stuff. With that and your blades and my heart, we'll be good. I'll get big. Smash stuff. You'll like it.
But what'll happen when you change?
Don't know. Won't be me anymore.
But how will you, or, future new you, know when to attack Asgard?
You got the horn, right?
Yeah?
Then we're good.
So it'll follow the horn.
So,
Whoa!
here it is.
Holy shit.
The world.
This is beautiful.
Very
I'll meet
pretty.
you across.
This feels too easy. Odin knows we have Yellowhorn. He knows you have the mask. After killing Brock, he knows we would seek Surtur to start this war.
But what other choice do we have?
None. He knows that too.
Oh yeah, maybe Surtur isn't Surtur. Maybe it's Odin.
This is it.
What about Sinmara? Should we at least tell her?
No. It'd hurt her too much.
More than not knowing what happened to you?
Sometimes loving someone is about choosing the lesser pain.
That doesn't make any sense.
Promise you'll stay away from her.
You have our word.
Sorter, is stabbing you with the blades gonna be enough to create this new you?
Sinmar's heart is cold. So beautifully cold. Your dad's now got my fire in those blades. If enough of me and the spark's fire go into enough of her, it should work.
Okay.
Come here.
That's the thing now. Is it going to be fucking Odin? It could be, couldn't it? It could just change into Odin and just be like, huh? Whoa.
Blades. Move! This'll hurt. Now, for the really painful part. My fire, her heart. Combine them, you get Ragnarok. It's time.
How long do you think this is gonna take?
Oh, hello. Valkyries.
Valkyries!
Odin must have sent them!
Fist and mist. Oh, okay. Kneel! Oh, yes. Oh, fuck me. Ow, ow, ow. Oh, for fuck's sake, of course there's more. Ow. Come on, Kratos. Come on, Kratos. Come on, Kratos. Oh, come on. Why do I suck at carrying? Yield! No, thank you. And Jesus Christ, dude. The Valkyries are basically Anya. Okay, that... They're like intricately linked. Oh fuck. Ow. Ow. Ow.
Get away from him!
Oh, bear time. Oh, just snap the necks. Nice. That's a pretty badass effort. Missed and missed.
Did it work? Sorter! Are you there?
Ooh, a Gale Flame. Nice. The Darkness Sphere is upgraded.
Father! Oh, whoa!
Oh. Yeah, I think it
Help us
worked.
attack Asgard?
Ah, so we gotta sound the horn.
Hear that? All we have to do is call him with Gjallarhorn when we're ready.
Awesome.
Let's head back to Muspelheim. We can take the Mystic Gateway back from there.
Summoning complete.
It worked. I can't believe it. We got Ragnarok on our side. Sorter's plan just worked. I mean, the Valkyries were a small setback, but I bet we've got Odin worried now. He knows we're coming for him.
Is he
Think
worried
about it.
though?
We're gonna show up to Asgard, and Ragnarok's gonna come in and wreck everything.
Is he worried?
Odin won't stand a chance. We're gonna win. Bro was right.
Groa failed to predict what we would sacrifice in return.
Maybe she could only see the big stuff. This is gonna work, right?
It must.
It must. Oh, there's a real Ripley skin in Call of Duty? Oh, nice. Let's go. Yeah. It's just my brutality.
Ragnarok strength grows.
Hey, check out that cliff. Earthquake must have shook this place up enough to make a ledge.
More Odin's forces.
Trying to finish the job is after he started.
Hello.
Trying to grab you.
Not what these fucking tornadoes I've got, you know? Okay, like,
Do not worry about me.
you're telling me I can roll, but it's like, oh, I can just do a 180 spin in the tower.
There will be more.
We gotta get out of here.
Oh shit, we can't go the way we came now. Fuck. Wait, can we still get that Nornid
Up this
chest?
way, Father. We can climb back towards the gate.
I've only seen posters on Instagram and Reddit. Oh, okay. It's like officially out then, I'm guessing?
You fought in a lot of wars, right? You've never had anything like Ragnarok on your side?
I have. And the creature does not guarantee our victory.
Right.
I know sometimes stuff like that gets leaked. It's not like official. It's not officially out yet, but it's, you know, people like to report things way too early.
Another earthquake. This whole place is gonna fall apart if this keep happening. You're on fire, but you probably already know that. Watch your right. Right side, corner.
Oh, fucking get out of here. Got him. Think so. Fair enough. What the fuck did you get that, Aaron?
Father, the Einherjar aren't gonna stop attacking anytime soon. We need to get back.
I know.
You're quiet. I mean, you're always quiet, but this feels different.
I had hoped my days of ceaseless battles were over. I had hoped to never see my son go to war.
Sigil arrows can break through their shield! He threw us These guys just don't give up.
Ragnarok is here. They know what that means for Asgard.
I mean, that's fair. That's how we're starting soon. I feel like the point of no return is going to be us basically. We might have one or two more things to do now. Once we get out of Muspelheim, but I feel like once we've done that, then it's going to be very much. Gonna be very much endgame and point of no return, you know?
We need to leave before anything else shows up. The gate is just through this crack in the rocks when you're ready. Father, I know we're doing the right thing. Ragnarok has to happen.
The price we and others paid for this war is high. It will only get higher.
It'll be worth it.
Brother, how did it go? And yes, my usefulness to a certain Vanny of Numpty did run out.
Ragnarok awaits our call.
As do the armies of hell. Thanks mostly to me. It seems war is upon us at last. Where to now, brother? We've some time before we're expected at the temple.
This could be our last chance, Father. Is there anything you want to finish up?
It's a good point, actually. I don't think so, actually. Ads are about to start now, by the way. Just a heads up.
Well, this is it then. The beginning of the end.
The end for Odin. And after that, a new beginning for the rest of us.
Atreus,
I know. I'm just looking forward to seeing all the realms finally standing up to him. Elves and dwarves and hell itself.
you are so certain they will unite.
They have to. After everything they've been through. They have to. Don't they?
Well, you say that, buddy. Say that.
Anything in Midgard you want to do? You know, while we still can.
Freya and the others are still making preparations for the attack, so there's time.
Oh, it's
Needed an
Linda.
upgrade? You need it? I got it.
Oh, we can upgrade all three. Let's go. Spears are late.
Ought to make Odin's spear look like a toothpick.
You're staying level 7. Nice.
Now those are some angry knives.
Leviathan Axe, level 8.
Time to cleave some heads.
8, 7, and 8. Is it 8, 7, 8? Yeah. Again, the Blades of Chaos are the lowest ones. 8 is the also Wand of Absorption. Wand of the 9 Realms. Hey, Meister. Yeah, no worries, no worries. I know there's ads running, so I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm just checking my weapons and
Y'all feeling crafty?
see if there's anything I can upgrade before the final countdown.
The ever-thirsting blade. Now you be careful with that, Kratos.
Yeah, just don't. Yeah, you're not missing out much, everybody. I'm just doing some upgrades and not.
Know what you
There's no
want?
story involved.
This is from one of them other lands, huh? Oh, I can use this.
Oh yeah, we got the Berserker armor, didn't we?
Y'all feeling crafty? Now go show it off.
Does look nice, to be fair. I will not lie.
It fits.
It's need one more tempered remnant. Oh, see? Ah, damn it. Okay, so I dropped it to level 7, but if I had one more tempered remnant, I could make it level 9, realistically. I just need one more tempered remnants. I get that. Taking damage, blocking, and parrying all have a moderate luck chance to cause a soul explosion.
Wanna talk first?
Okay, everybody's... Hopefully the ads are done now, everyone.
Y'all feeling crafty?
Activation.
I don't usually buy stuff from customers, but I'll make an exception for you.
Okay. Hmm. That's nice. Okay.
Feeling crafty?
I think that's all done, really. To be honest, for oh, look at this! Look at the axe now. Oh, oh, look at the Drapnir spear though. Came fine. What side quests have I got? Oh, why did I track the Eyes of Odin? Freya waits for us in Midgard at Tyr's temple. When we are ready to begin the final march to war, we will meet her there. Hmm. Because that's going to be the final bit, isn't it? This is going to be the final sort of run of the game. That makes sense. Oh, wait, Pirates of the Caribbean are in Fortnite? Let's go. Huh. We got... Oh, here we got the... I see now. Like, there's not really... Like, are these side quests? None of them are screaming like, oh, I must do them to get a certain item or something, you know? Hilta Scoff, no, I don't know what that is, but I need to defeat another 10 Berserker Souls, which will take me fucking forever. Probably. So... I think we're gonna go for it, are we? I think.
So, sounds like things went well enough in Muspelheim.
I mean, probably. Surtur didn't want Samara involved, so instead of them combining to form the Ragnarok beast, we did a workaround that left her out of it.
Well, hopefully he still shows up at Ragnarok to plunge his sword into the heart of Asgard.
And where is that exactly?
Only Surtur knows.
Yeah, but welcome back everybody from the ads. Hope everyone's
Okay.
glad the ads okay.
armies are probably gathered in their home realms, waiting for when we blow Gallarhorn. Guess I was kind of hoping to see some of them here.
When all the realm towers open at once, we'll see plenty, lad. Odin won't believe what's coming for him.
No. Odin had lifetimes to prepare for this. Whatever Groa's deception, he heard the truth as Tyr. Do not underestimate him.
Rousing speech, brother. Very inspirational.
Oh, look, it's the Valkyries.
Wow, the Valkyries look different.
Welcome back. Hildesfini informed me of your success. We've been planning accordingly.
Hi.
Well, what would Ragnarok be without Ragnarok?
Who else agreed to join us? I see the Valkyries.
Better than that. They are reborn. Corporeal and uncorrupted, thanks to no small amount of Vanir magic. They're shield maidens now.
Nice.
Wow.
And your brother.
He came through. The elves called a truce to unite against Asgard. That gives us an advantage by air. And with Hell's army for a vanguard.
What about Sindri? Will the dwarves fight?
We haven't heard from him. But there's time yet. And I think we have what we need to clear a path for the Ragnarok beast.
Well, when you say it like that, why worry at all? Sigrun, it's good to see you so... alive.
Oh, yes. I wasn't myself when last we met. I'm glad you're safe.
Oh.
Queen, the Shield Maidens will be divided among the forces breaching from Alfheim, Helheim, and here in Midgard. We stand ready. Kratos, Atreus, Mimir, please excuse me.
Oh. Good night, then.
Freya, have you determined our path out of Asgard?
If the towers are the way in, we count on them being the way out.
And if they are not?
Then we all know what we signed up for. Our plan is only missing one thing. A leader.
That honor is yours. You have a righteous claim, and the respect of your troops. And you have faced this enemy before.
I held his invading army to a stalemate. This is our invasion, a siege on his terrain. I want our most experienced wartime general in the field. I don't care about the honors, I don't care about the prophecies and champions. I just need us to win.
Freya.
I know what I'm asking. Just... sleep on it? Here we are. Kratos, your tent is to the right, and Atreus, yours is to the left.
Mine?
A young warrior needs his own space, don't you think?
I do. Wow. Thanks.
Sleep on what we spoke of. Let me know in the morning what you decide.
The realms at war started. Get some rest. Hey Faye. Hi. That boy's going good. I think we're near the end. I think we're going to be doing like the end game. So.
I don't know what tomorrow brings, but if tonight is our last night, I'd like to spend it feeling something besides hate. Will you tell me one last silly story?
There's nothing I like more. Except perhaps a dance. Though I may have lost a step. Due respect, love. I don't tell silly stories.
You only tell silly stories.
I can never argue with you.
How you doing, Faye? Hope you're well. Nice. It's such a good game. It is. I say it started off slow, but we're definitely getting there now. It's definitely picked up. No worries at all. No worries at all. I know you stream from time to time, so I'll give a quick shout out. Go follow Faye. She's great.
I sleep here tonight?
Oh.
You must quiet your mind.
I can't.
Then I will tell you a story.
If I fall asleep, promise you'll finish it tomorrow?
Of course. Now, close your eyes.
Long ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Old man who chopped wood for his village. Every evening he bore the logs on his back and delivered them to his people. But the logs were heavy, and he grew weaker as time went. And one day, he threw down the logs as he could no longer bear their weight. And he called for death to come to him. And when death arrived,
Oh, he was retelling his story. No, he wasn't carrying wood. It was a soldier, it was a Spartan. I'm sure that must be a reference to like an older, like maybe like his origin story or something, or maybe his father or something. Honestly, I couldn't sleep like that. Thanks. I'm a side sleeper.
He's the only one who ever got my highbrow sense of humor. Damn fine woman she was. Apart from her taste in men, of course.
Oh, Brock.
She was a special woman. She wanted to protect people.
She was here. She saw every step we took before we took it. Like she was always with us. Watching over us. Leading us home.
Does my request upset you? Death is a natural part of life, my love. I wish only to be prepared for when my time comes. We mortals must do such things. I am glad to have you prepare with me.
One last time. With Faye.
Quiet?
I have nothing to say.
Well, say something.
I
I enjoy hearing your voice.
A funeral pyre. I would have chosen different.
Oh?
In my land, we entomb our loved ones.
You would have me trapped in the ground for eternity.
I would have you close to me.
How touching. My rotting corpse would bring you such comfort.
mean, she's got a point.
You
This
once tried
before?
to take charge of your ending, did you know?
That was different.
Circumstance, yes. But not in purpose.
Yeah, because he tried to take charge. Yeah, because he tried to change his fate and control his ending, or his life. And look at that, where that got him.
You prepare for a distant future. There is much time ahead of us.
I wish to better a future that will exist without me, whenever that day comes. For you, and for our son. We will always walk together, Kratos. You will always be a part of me. I will always be a part of you.
And when you are gone, that part of me dies as well. You feel your absence.
Culmination of love is grief. And yet we love, despite the inevitable. We open
So she knows she's dying? Is she dying, or does she know?
When the pyre is spent, and you have gathered my ashes, spread them from the highest peak in all the realms.
Which is the first game, which is 2018 game.
You will do this for me.
So why did she die? Is she sacrificing herself?
To grieve deeply is to have loved fully. Open your heart to the world as you have opened it to me, and you will find every reason to keep living in it.
All this music, though.
What's going on?
It is time.
I'll meet you outside, Father. Sir.
Now, after seeing Faye for one last time. Like he knows what must be done. It just looks pissed.
We'd hoped to fly into battle with you one more time, my queen.
Me too. But not as your queen. As sisters.
No.
Are you ready?
Yes. I will be your general.
It will be an honor to fight alongside you, General.
Please call me Kratos.
Aye, brother. I'll be right by your side. So, what are your orders?
To the temple.
Ooh. First one. No worries. No worries, Meister. No worries. All good.
Hey, General Kratos! I got something you're gonna want before you go to war.
Do you now?
Y'all feeling crafty?
Eightbreaker shoulder guard. Ooh. Okay. Okay. So at level 8, it's better strength, less defense, a little bit less vitality, but more luck. Actually, honestly, that kind of rounds it off a little bit better. Returning from rage, get a brief buff to strength, defense, and runic and stagger resistance. Yeah. Eightbreaker wraps. Increase the rate at which rage is gained. Ooh. You know what? I might get that. Look how much vitality I get. Holy shit, yeah.
Thank you, Lunda.
Right, nephew's over. I was showing him one of my new VR. Oh, nice. Oh, is he scared of it? Don't blame him. I don't blame him. Oh, thank you, Lycan, for the contribution. Yeah, I forgot to mention actually properly. I kind of thought of that on a whim, and I figured the next sort of like channel point redemption challenge thing is that because we haven't played Kingdom Hearts for a long time, so I figured we'd try playing Kingdom Hearts 1 on proud mode and just see how far I get. If I can beat it, then great. But because I've never really tried. The only time I've played Kingdom Hearts on a harder difficulty was Birth by Sleep. Birth by Sleep when I did Aqua Story, because if you did it on critical, I think Jax told me, if you did it on critical mode or proud mode, whatever it was, you get like an extra couple of hours worth of content for story reasons.
Woohoo! Looking good!
A good fit.
And then waste armor.
Better get that armor nice and bloody.
Oh, thank you, everybody. Thank you. I think I got it like 100k. I think it is something like that. Oh, I can make it number 9. Ooh, level 9. Nice. Oh.
Woohoo! Looking good!
Does look nice, to be fair. Oh, look at my health now. It's just shot right up. Look at the fallen stars. Oh, wow. Well, I actually I run out of hack silver. Nice. Yeah, I can't actually buy the Fate Break. Well, I can buy the Fate Breakers, but I can't do much of them.
Y'all feeling crafty? feller need?
Sell
Probably
these,
melt that
actually.
down. I'll take it.
I'll probably upgrade the
Y'all
armor a bit more
feeling,
now.
crafty?
Could I now? No, not really, could I? I can get to level 7, but...
Good luck out there, General.
That's fine. I mean, it's got nice new armor. That's quite nice. Whoa. A red on the gauntlets and stuff. Nice. That's correct. Finish the act, restoring critical difficulty allows you to unlock final episode and secret episode. That's it. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That was the one. Yeah, because you got a meta quest, didn't you, Monster? If I'm not mistaken.
Sir?
General.
General?
General.
Hey, bud. General.
Freya's like, hey, bud. Tyr's Temple. How we travelled in the first game, or the prequel to this. Before Fimbulwinter turned up.
I came to these lands to escape my past, to start a new life. I can hide no longer. I do not want this war. We have suffered enough. Prophecy did not lead us here, nor will it win this battle. Wars are won by those that are willing to sacrifice everything. If that is the cost of vengeance,
Be it.
so be it.
Odin has taken so much from us already. The realms have suffered enough. No matter the cost. This ends today.
If going out in a blaze of glory means that Odin burns too,
I'm in.
that's where I'll be. A big, fat smile on my face.
For Brock.
Oh, this music though. I'm gonna sound the horn. This feels very Avengers Endgame, doesn't it? This is the Infinity War now. This is it.
Ready yourselves.
Oh shit. This game could be considered as part of Phase 2 in the God of War video game universe. Yeah, true.
Muspelheim Tower is fallen.
And if Odin goes after Niflheim next,
They're trying to shut out Ragnarok.
you gotta stop those war machines.
Oh shit. Before.
Not an ideal start.
Wait.
Ingrid, we don't have time.
I know. Just wait.
Ingrid. Wait, Ingrid was his? Oh, that's sick.
Ingrid!
Well, we got work to do.
Let's go. Yeah, you could say.
The war machines.
Yeah, you could say the Greek mythology ones were phase 1.
This way.
Interesting though that they haven't said that this is like the point of no return. Definitely feels like this is a point of no return.
Push forward.
The Alpha.
Keep moving.
People on tower's not looking so good.
There's still time. We have to.
Oh well. It's one. Oh, it. Kubota and Fenrir. Aww. Go Fenrir, go. I swear to God, if Fenrir dies, I'm gonna cry.
No other plan. Our focus remains on the war machines.
We should head for the flaw behind the Asgard Tower. Without Ragnarok, it's our only chance to break through the wall.
Princess Flaw! You said only Surtur knew how to use it.
Let's pray I was wrong. On your left!
Careful, brother. You're covered in Bifrost.
I can see.
Enemies on the left! Keep an eye on that tail! Down!
The war machines. We use them to breach the flaw and strike the city with our allies.
Sounds desperate.
Good. Desperation is our advantage.
Would have preferred a realm-destroying fire giant, but I suppose desperation is better than nothing.
Was that? It was. Odin's new Valkyrie claim is not.
I would think so.
Then we must hurry.
Oh, Gnar.
Here it comes, guys!
It's like one of the. That's like, isn't that like the hardest fight in the game, isn't it? Like fighting Gnar. You actually fight her properly, I'm guessing.
Enemy behind you, Kratos!
Oh, he's floating. Probably because you're not able to do anything else but this right now. Yeah, that's probably true. It's just normally the game kind of like you normally get like a prompt like saying like the game like saying like, hey, this is the point of no return. But then the game is kind of telling you that anyway because Atreus is like, hey, we're probably not going to come back here for now. So anything you want to do now is do it now.
Covered in Bifrost. Left side, brother!
Up here.
Jormungandr!
A welcome sight!
Oh fuck, the world serpent.
Midgard. Curious! You'll keep Thor busy at least!
Oh, that's nice. So Thormund is Thor.
Use a shield strike, brother.
Behind us! Look out!
Ah, oh, bitch. Shonk, shonk.
On your right! Oh, no! Damn it!
Keep moving!
At least that army is already dead.
We're getting nowhere! The Einherjar return from Valhalla as quickly as we kill them!
Yep. Well, we just gotta hope and pray that Ragnarok turns up, huh? Oh.
There goes the Alpine reinforcements.
We are running out of armies.
Looks like the Giants made it after all.
Snake looks different.
He is different. But when I was away, never mind, later.
The Einherjar's link to Valhalla. My sisters and I must sever it.
Go.
Still no sign of the dwarves.
Sindri won't let us down. We have to trust him.
Rally all you can. We will make for this Svartalfheim tower.
This reminds me of the later parts of The Witcher 3. Yeah, it does actually. Yeah, you're right. With the whole like armies and the wild hunt.
The war machines.
Oh, so we're pretty desperate, huh?
Oh, we're pretty desperate, huh?
Get ready. Right side.
Well out.
Nasty hit. You all right, brother? Father, dragon, incoming. Right side. Damn it! Ragnarok is supposed to be here. Why is he here?
Something's stopping. He must have heard the call, right?
There! That pillar is standing on the sweep!
Oh, go on, Fenrir.
No! That Valkyrie followed them through the realm tear!
Your friend.
She'll be fine! We got more important things to worry about! Even if we can breach the wall!
Perhaps it is better this way.
Better for who?
Cause of anything.
The dwarves are here! Way to go, Sindri! Ah, it's just Sindri!
I know, I'm late.
Where is your army?
No more dwarves are dying for this.
Sin, we...
Save it! Odin forced them to build those war machines. And I'm here to tear them down.
Before you break them, we must turn them on the floor.
Fine. Leave it to the dwarves to clean up after the giants.
I think he's pretty pissed. And he has every right to be fair. After what's happened. Oh, there he is.
About bloody time he showed up.
Oh, that was a cold line from Sindri. You don't get to use this anymore.
I didn't want this. No. Close your heart to it. Close your heart.
Who are they?
Midgardians. Odin took them in. They shouldn't be here. They're not soldiers.
Odin put them in our path to die.
It's war. Wars are won by those who are willing to sacrifice everything. What are you doing?
Son, listen closely. You feel their pain because that is who you are. And you must never sacrifice that. Never. Not for anyone. I was wrong, Atreus. I was wrong. Open your heart. Open your heart to their suffering.
Because that's what Faye told him to do. Open your heart. Open your heart to the world and you will continue to live.
Today, we will be better.
But what can we do?
See the size of that thing? I think we're gonna win. I mean, if they don't kill us first.
Why have you stopped? Ragnarok is here. We finally have Odin right where we...
We will stop Odin. But we did not come to sacrifice the innocent. We will breach the wall at Hrimthor's Flaw.
With what army?
Atreus and I will be enough.
That's suicide.
It may be. But we will die seeking justice, not vengeance. Can that weapon break open the flaw?
Only one way to find out.
You three. Get those people to safety wherever you can find it.
We will see it done.
Freya and I will do what we can to slow Ragnarok.
He was not mindless before. See if he will listen to reason. Odin will not get away.
If he does, so help me.
I know.
Valky!
No! No! Protect him! I will help those that are trapped. And meet you at the fall. Go! Go, Atreus!
Alright, Atreus and Sindri. Together again.
Sentry, be careful and stay behind me.
You be careful. I'm here to fight.
Oh, go! Fucking pop off, Sindri. Let's go. You be careful. I'm here to fight.
Look, can I just say?
No, you can't. Shut up and fight.
Come here, you little fucking shit. you, dude.
Sentry! Can't let it control me.
Fair time. We've gone from a wolf to a bear now. Let it control me. It's unlimited until we basically do this fight.
What? You want to thank you?
No, I just want...
I don't care what you want. This changes nothing.
Honestly, I think he's perfectly capable of.
Really had me believing you that we didn't have to be enemies.
Oh, hi, Thrud.
You're okay.
My mom was right about you all along. You're a killer just like your father, and you're here to kill us all.
No, just Odin.
Oh, ow, that hurt.
Sentry, go! She's a friend.
Friends don't bring the end of the world to each other's doorstep, Loki.
You're right. You're right. I made some bad decisions.
You do that a lot. I'm not sure that's a defense.
It's not a defense. I just want to make it right. Is Skilder okay? Have you seen him?
Why wouldn't he be? What are you talking about?
Odin is willing to sacrifice the Midgardians. He put them along the wall to try and deter us, knowing they can't fight. Their deaths are just meant to slow us down.
Why would he do that? And how am I supposed to believe you?
Because he's right. It's who Odin is. It's who he's always been.
Mom, why are you here? What?
He'll sacrifice anyone at a problem in front of him. The Midgardians. Your friend. Our family, any of us. I had hoped that your father would stand up to him, but now it has to be you.
Mom, what are you saying?
Oh, she's saying that Thrud's got to stand to Odin.
I never doubted that you would make the finest Valkyrie these realms have ever seen. But not for him. Do you understand?
She's very pretty, by the way, Sif.
But our family.
Without Odin, we can be one again. A real one.
I mean, that's what she said before. Sif with Sif is that Odin's crippling them. Hold on. I just realized the camera's very dark. Give me a sec. Make a difference? Still here. I'm just trying to find. Ooh. There we go. It's better. It's a little bit more brighter. Not so dark in here now. Bonk. Yeah, I know. what a bonk from Thrud. Have you watched the Thor? Okay, so the only Thor movies I haven't watched is Dark World, which was the second one, and then Love and Thunder, I think it is. That's the only ones I have not watched. I've watched the first one. I've watched Ragnarok. Yeah. I think I've missed 2 or 3, maybe. I'm not 100% sure.
He said if we held our ground, we'd be safe. He said we owed him.
You don't owe him your death.
No shit.
Dad will never let them get their grandfather.
Then go with him. He'll listen to you. Are you ready to go find the rest of your people?
Yeah.
Ooh. Maybe because of Sif. Ah, okay. Is she in the Thor films? I don't remember if she is.
Finally.
Shoot it.
Well, she is. It's been a minute since I've watched. Ooh. Well, that's one way to make a crack. Whee!
Well done, son. Well done.
It's just like, who's she? Oh, so we've got Thrud on our side now? Because of the whole thing with Sif and Thor.
Hi! Thrud Thor's daughter!
Thor's daughter?
She's my friend!
She's like, hi, I'm Thor's daughter. Even though Thor's daughter is their surname.
You fight well.
My dad taught me!
That much is clear.
Yeah, well, thanks. Sorry, he's not...
I know.
I know.
Behind you! Go!
Careful, brother. You're covered in Bifrost.
Very sad music.
What's going on? I thought Ragnarok was supposed to help us!
The creature is not whole. What remains is incomplete. It cannot fulfill its purpose.
Because she didn't fully complete. No. With him?
Wait! Where'd Sentry go?
He has done his part. The rest is on us.
Look out!
I mean, that's fair. I got through. Tell me where enemies are coming from now. Great. Oh, got more ads. Shit. It reminds me of that girl from Borderlands 3 with that anger. Ooh. haven't really fully finished Borderlands 3, so I'm like... Oh, is it Danica? Not Danica, no. No, Tannis? Is it Tannis? What's the scientist lady from 2? Which is a bit crazy. Yeah, this music is so epic, though. Oh, it's the Siren character. Let's run through it. Let's go. Oh, so hold on. So what Thor did? Thor kind of did that on. So, oh, so Sif sent the Valkyries to stop Atreus, but probably did that, or to mainly to stop Odin from doing what he's doing and beating the living shit out of Thor. I get you're angry, you have a right to be, but Atreus didn't kill him, Odin did.
I think I see something.
Yeah, I know, but he's... I think with Sindri, it's like his... You know, Atreus was his best friend, and he's been back and forth.
That's where we gotta go.
He's been back and forth with Odin, so he's immediately linked. So he just thinks him, because he's been linked with...
That may not be our biggest problem right now.
Get back to your sister. You must hold back Ragnarok. This fight is mine.
But if I could just...
Take Atreus and the mask and do not look back. My son trusts you, so I trust you.
Kratos and Thor.
Done with you and your son.
Yeah, that too. Oh, okay. I just realized it's ads. I just realized it's ads. And we're missing a quite intense intro cutscene to a fight. Okay, so while we wait, I will just check to see who's online. Okay. I'll be back in a bit and take a shower. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, there's that too. Yeah, I think that's my thinking is... See, Trace has been back and forth with Odin, trying to, like, sneak him in, and Sindri's probably just thought, oh my god, he's let his guard down, and he's let Odin into his home to basically kill Brock. And he did. And he had to lash out at somebody, and that somebody is Atreus. Let's do this. Welcome back to the end, everybody. Two very angry men are going to punch the living shit out of each other.
No more fucking games! And this time, I'm allowed to kill you.
We do not need to do this. We do. It's what we are.
I can take you. Can you?
Thor, the lad seems to think you've changed. Move in and stop this.
Talking over. Fight and die. Won't be enough. That it?
You're what the old father made you. You can choose to.
You all.
I wonder how Sif. Wonder like Sif's gonna be pissed, isn't she, when she finds out? Okay.
Thor, think for yourself a little. Your family's falling apart.
Don't act like you know.
Oh fuck yeah! Just stick the knife in the thing he had.
You attack my daughter. No, I did not. You bring this to my home.
Yeah, we didn't attack. If anything, she attacked Atreus, and then he calmed her down. Oh. But he's so blinded and he's just angry, isn't he?
If this is it, you'll die first. Then you're dead.
Jesus. Okay.
One of us died today. Still won't be me.
Thor, this isn't what food.
Keep her name out of your damn mouth.
Yep. I mean, that's fair. He's just a very, very angry man.
Everything was fine before Loki showed up.
Maybe Sif wanted him to do this. Or maybe Sif is Odin. Oh no.
I've been believing things could change.
Why would she change her heart? Thing now, innit? Is that actually?
You have nothing I want to hear.
Odin does not
Shut the fuck up.
I mean, fair. Odin does not shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Wait, did he just break Melonia?
What are you waiting for? Your daughter. My son calls her friend. If you try to hurt her... I would not.
My first playthrough I didn't like to do because I was more familiar with its benefits and it's a really good weapon. Yeah, it's really fun.
You know
really good long range weapon.
What I've done, yes! But what will you do now? We don't change. Or destroy us. No more. No more. For the sake of our children, we must be better.
Thor would have killed him. Maybe he will.
Why isn't he dead? Are you talking? Who told you to do that? You don't talk. You don't think. I think, you kill. It's a simple fucking concept.
Sif was right about you. I just didn't want to see it.
What is this? Are you broken? I am your father. Take the hammer and kill who I tell you to kill.
No.
No.
Oh shit!
I didn't want this. I did not want this. Dude, this was all their fault. They've done this to us, to our family.
Oh fuck, okay. Yep, there goes the hammer. And now we fight Odin.
Looks like I gotta do everything around here. Your own son? You granddaughter! Why? Rule's gonna be fine. I say Thor. That one's on you.
That one's on me. Ah, okay.
You turned him against me. You turned them all against me.
You started this fight.
No. This all started long before you showed up. You are a nobody. A plague god killer. This is what you wanted, right?
This is a fucking insane fight. Oh, okay. Okay, I could have blocked that. Or just run away. Everything's bala. Oh, come on. Run. Oh, fuck. I don't think this is the end, is it? I think this is gonna be. I think this is like one of his shades. I genuinely think this is one of his shades. The way he does like this, you know, the way he deceives people.
Was this everything you hoped for? Was your plan really all that much better than mine? I hope you got exactly what you want.
Not quite yet.
Yeah. Oh shit. Oh yeah, she grabbed the noose, didn't she? That he tried to hang himself on.
One who can craft a binding spell.
Because that was in the Fates.
I spent many long winters.
Home run.
Thinking about what I would say to you.
Fun fact about God of War 3. Originally, it was going to have gods from all pantheons invade Greece. Kratos was going to kill Thor, and Mjolnir was going to be one of the extra weapons you could use. Oh wow, that's cool.
But now, I realize there's only one thing I need you to know. You have no hold on me anymore.
That's my friend. I forgot how good you look with wings.
Oh, husband. You always sought knowledge well. Now, I'm going to teach you what it's like to lose everything. Bow to your queen!
I always loved you, you know.
You've never loved anyone!
Oh shit. Phase 2. I knew it wouldn't be just that. Oh, it's just Atreus.
Father? Freya?
Oh, he's in Reno didn't study.
You did it, Loki. No, no, no more fighting. No, none of that matters now. This is your moment, Loki. Groa tried to hide you from me, but this is your destiny. Champion of the Jotnar. Only he can put on the mask. Only he can gaze into the truth of creation. Unfold the secrets of life.
Sometimes some things are better left, not seen.
Put on the mask, Loki.
Is he though? Is he going to?
Ask it the question.
This is your choice, son. I trust you.
Snap it. There, I thought so.
Why did you do that? What was it all for? You choose to be nothing.
I had a feeling he'd snap it off.
So be it.
Attack!
All three of us are now here now.
Long time for this, haven't you, Fritz? So have I.
Too late for that.
Fly.
Bonk. Wait, there's three of us now. Hope through's okay.
Don't forget me, old fucker. What did you call
Don't
me?
forget me, you old
That
fucker.
one's for bro.
Go on, Mimir, pop off. Don't forget me, you old fuck. Theory is that Athena was on the other side of that portal because she has the same glow as well, and she was the goddess of wisdom. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, she was green, wasn't she, in the first game, where she said, "You are a monster. You are my monster." And then he goes, "I'm your monster no longer." That was probably one of the best lines in these two games. Can't lie. When he picked up the Blades of Chaos, it's like, look at you, Kratos. You're still a monster. I am your monster no longer. Fucking cold, man. Makes sense though. I can understand, but then would it be from? I don't know. Like, or would it be Grower maybe? Oh shit! Chris got stabbed. Nice, as one does. Okay, blame on, I guess.
You ruined everything. Everything I worked for. Everything I killed for. I just wanted answers.
Did you though? Did you though? Was it just that? Yeah, I don't like that heavy attack actually. I should have changed it. I can't change. Can I change it now? Oh, Freya's armor. Fate Breaker tunic. Ooh, yeah, go on. Fate Breaker tunic for Atreus. Oh, we got mods. Damage. That was a great moment retrieving the blades. Yeah, oh, if you've played the first 3 games, that is an amazing moment. Okay. We'll go Atlas Eruption. Kind of quick because and cooldown.
You just played your part. None of this would have happened. What was it all for? Answer me, Loki. What's it all for?
What is it all for? Leave. Who knows you were there, buddy? Next time. You and your little vines. They're just all attacking. Alright, Mimir.
Use your arrow.
Got it.
That's clever though, he's making us use all the weapons to get rid of his, like, immunity. Honk. Oh, nice Atreus. Oh, and again. Oh. Oh. Like an embossed shirt, ain't
This was
that?
our chance, Loki. I could have had my answers. I could have learned the truth. You took that away from me. I could have made things better. We could have made the 9 realms better.
This was never about the realms, or me. It was about you.
You destroyed everything. My home, my family, my kingdom.
You did those things. Your choices. You killed your own son.
It wasn't my choice. I had no choice.
There's always a choice. You have to stop. You can choose to be better.
No, I can't. I have to know what happens next. I will never stop.
Why'd you have to say that? Sofna. Apfra. Desu. Sofna. Hithan.
He's taken his soul.
Sofna. Sofna. Sofna.
All this because I didn't know where he'd go after death. He wanted to know, didn't he? Yeah, he needed to know.
What do we do with him?
Throw him in the river. Somewhere, I don't know.
I swore I would never rob from you the choice between life and death.
I have waited so long for this moment.
Freya's gonna stab him? You never know.
And now that I'm here, I don't need this to make me whole.
We stopped his madness. That's all that matters.
Oh, okay. Sindri just fucking murdered him. There you go.
What comes next?
I mean, fair enough. Because of what happened to Brock. Oh.
It's Ragnarok. He's here.
Wait. Oh, yeah, no, he can shapeshift. Sorry. For some reason, I was like, was that Odin? Oh shit, Ragnarok's here now. Okay. You know what to do. You haven't seen Little Nick? Oh god, I watched Little Nicky years ago.
Where exactly?
You didn't exit?
How?
It's giant stuff. Okay, follow me, quickly.
Quickly.
What? You have to go.
Oh, don't die, Freya.
It's time.
Come on. Oh. Oh, he was burnt. Oh shit.
No matter what happens, I'll be with you. But your path is your own. Follow it, and you'll end up right where you're supposed to be.
Oh, all right. I've not. I say I don't. I haven't watched it in like 10 years, 10, 15 years.
Wake up, Atreus. Wake up.
Is that Faye? No. There ain't no way.
Glad you've come back to us.
Hi. Where's my father?
Somewhere here in the Holt. He'll be glad to see you.
That Faye? And she's like taking up a different name?
Thanks, Hare.
Hodim's Holt. Hodmini's Holt. The realm at war. Oh, we're in Midgar. Okay. Let's find Kratos. I can imagine.
Stop it, I'm fine.
Hush.
Oh.
I won't have rot
Through.
set into the...
Loki!
I'm so glad you're both alive.
Oh.
You have no idea, and I'm sorry. Thor. He tried, you know? I'm sorry I couldn't do more. Nothing will fix what you're feeling. But I hope there's some comfort in knowing Odin's gone.
There absolutely is.
Loki, it was an honor to fight alongside a giant. Know that.
Will you stay here in Midgard?
For a bit? Then I've got something I need to find.
I'm working with Hildisvini to get the rest of the
Mjolnir.
Asgardians to Vanaheim
She's gonna find Mjolnir, isn't she?
to help rebuild.
Then I hope it can be a fresh start for them. And you. Oh, and Thrud. I hope you find what you're looking for. Good luck.
I bet it's
See
Mjolnir.
ya, Loki.
Take care. Were either of your weapons damaged in the battle?
I think they're fine. Maybe a couple nicks here and there.
This is where we've holed up after the fight. We're gonna go and see everybody now, aren't we? It's kind of like a little heroes tour. All the people.
Huh. Lugan made it out. Good for him.
I didn't even see the bird. I didn't see the crow, but I'm sure he's fine.
Oh, and if you could get this wood over to Brana's tent,
Gilder?
Loki! Hey! Glad to see the head injury didn't make you forget me. Did you have a head injury? Everything was blurred. Maybe that was someone else. Anyway, man, I'm really glad to see you.
I'm
Oh,
glad
dear.
to see you too. Looks like you're keeping busy.
I'm just happy to help folks. We're on track to have bedrolls for everyone, and your friend's wolves have been helping out with hunting. We should have plenty to feed everyone.
No shit.
No shit? And hey, thank you for everything. We wouldn't even be here without you and your friends.
Yeah, of course. I just wish we could have gotten more people out.
Loki, you did good.
Thanks, Skilder. Take care, okay?
Hey, you know me.
Oops.
Has anyone seen any extra blankets lying around? That snow might be melting, but it's still gonna be pretty cold in this.
Oh, so it's Fimbulwinter finishing now. Oh, it's Thunder. And then the Light Elf and Dark Elf.
For the kid, too. Skull!
Here, here.
Skull.
Mila.
We wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. And Freyr's sacrifice.
It's true.
Well, we were just swapping our own Freyr fables.
Right,
Oh.
right. So where was I? Oh. When we met, I was expecting this warrior, this master planner, born leader. The legend came before the man. But the man himself was very different. He won me over, though. He was just so damn kind.
I think it helped that he was handsome.
This is true. And incredibly charming.
All right, stop. Y'all are gonna make me start crying all over again.
Sorry. Gotta go find my father.
Be safe, you.
Sound like, do you know, actually Freyr, not Freya, but Freyr, the brother, reminds me of Flynn from Tangled
I'm
a
pleased
little
to
bit.
see you awake.
Freya.
It was his choice. I couldn't take that from him.
You saved us all. I'll never forget that.
The family I thought I had was taken from me piece by piece. But there's comfort in the family I've chosen. Your mother was right, you know. You grew into that bow after all.
Oh, the
You are
necklace.
a formidable warrior, but even more than that, you have a good heart. Nothing you've endured has changed that.
Oh.
I'm so proud of the man you've become, Atreus.
Thank you. For everything. I should find my father.
You should.
Oh, it's...
Atreus!
Hey, Mimir.
Gave us quite a scare there.
Glad to see you too, Mimir.
He's the best character in the two games. It's Mimir.
Oh, what else did you expect from the smartest man alive?
It's not just because you're smart. You listened to me. Mentored me. And, well, you're basically another dad to me.
Lad.
No. I need you to hear it. I appreciate you so much.
I love you too, little brother.
See you, Mimir.
It's good to see you about, Atreus.
You too, Hildisvini.
Okay, Kratos is going to be at the top, isn't he?
And it's nice down here, huh? No loud noises. We're okay. You did so good today, boy. I'm so proud of you. Maybe later, we can find some treats.
Okay. My turn.
Who's that, huh? Yeah, we know him.
Oh.
Maybe one of these days I'll surprise you.
Oh, you already have.
Oh.
You are in good hands. Thank you for saving us.
I decided it would be better if I wrote the ending myself. Yeah,
haven't told your father yet, have you?
Told him about what?
Come on. Giant visions? I already saw it. I get it.
Every part of me is telling me this is what I have to do. I just don't know how to say it.
Come with me. I've got something I want to show you. Both of you.
Kratos?
I do not wish to intrude.
I do not wish to intrude.
This is for you too.
I want Fenrir, man. Just Fenrir. Fenrir's best boy. Him and Torgal. Him and Torgal, best boys.
Atreus, I am glad you are well.
I'm glad you are too. So, what was the end of the story?
What?
Before Ragnarok, you promised to finish it if I fell asleep.
When death arrived, he asked why the old man had called for him. Seeing death
I know,
caused
yeah.
the old man to reconsider his request.
I think Torgal's like the best thing in the game.
He asked that death help him lift the logs onto his back, so that he may continue on his journey.
He wasn't ready to die.
He wished to keep living.
There's a lot of smoke out there.
Seems when Asgard fell, pieces of it landed all over the realms. There might still be some Einherjar near them, but that's not what I brought you here to see.
Oh, it's the real, like, it's the last thing. Wall art. Bind art.
Mother?
He knew. Wait, she did this? Hey.
My shrine in Jotunheim. She destroyed it. She didn't want us to know our fate.
Yeah.
We forged our own path because of her.
She went against her own people. Our people.
Smash the last to cover the end. Yeah.
They don't all open. I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah, I'm excited for the next
Father,
Final Fantasy.
I need to talk to you about something. There are other giants out there. And I've got to find them. I think I know where to look, but they're my responsibility. I need to do this alone. I don't want to do it alone, but I need to. It's hard to explain.
Does it frighten you?
Yeah.
That is why you must do it.
Like you
They're
told
always
me.
the toughest choices, aren't they?
Yeah.
The ones that frighten you.
Thrive today because of your choices. Who to trust, who to call friend.
You can just see the happiness in his face.
You are ready.
Remember our promise. And that's why
Loki will go. Atreus.
Oh. Oh no.
Remains.
And that's why Valhalla DLC is Kratos on his own. Because Atreus, Loki is finding the giants.
Take care of everyone.
Kratos is just watching. This is why I thought Redeemer's great. Yep. Oh, is there going to be something on the other side? Oh. Another door. His journey from Olympus to here. Taking it, yeah. She knew. Faye knew that he would fight Thor and Gjallarhorn and that. He's a general. Hero of Lord is a hero. She knew all along. She said a part of her is within him, and we must care with her. Freya.
What did you see in there, brother?
Well, one I had never imagined.
And what now?
There is much to do. Much to rebuild. Would you join me?
Aye.
We'll see to it.
Aww.
Together.
You could have the next God of War could be Atreus, like say Atreus and Angerboda doing their stuff, and then also Kratos and Freya like it was in this one. And Mimir. Well, the next one's gonna be Kratos versus Jesus. True, true. It's music. Oh, there we go. There's the credits. There we have it. That is Ragnarok done.
Freya, we should probably talk about Gná.
We don't need to talk about her. We just need to find her.
But Odin chose her as his new Valkyrie queen. A Vanir goddess, your friend.
Gná pledged loyalty to Asgard long ago, and our friendship ended soon after.
What happened?
I made a choice. One she couldn't accept. Kratos. She hates me. She will be a problem for us. Better we find her than she finds us.
And another one for the big boy himself. Skull!
Skull.
I don't know if this is the right way or not. Guess we run back down. And so far, the theory rumor is the next God of War is in Egypt. Ooh. So you got like Set and
We can hold a few dozen.
Anubis.
Families will stay together, obviously.
Take care, Kratos.
Thank you.
Oh.
I appreciate that. And we'll bring all the supplies we can, although it won't be much.
Don't worry about it. Anyone who's able can head out for extra supplies. Aesir and Vanir.
Together.
Lovely stuff.
General, Lady Freya, Mimir.
Oh, Sigrun.
Shield maidens.
Blessed Thor, have you found the traitor Gná yet, dear Freya?
Not yet. Soon.
One final word. We wish to offer condolences.
What for?
For your family. Your brother.
We didn't mean to pry, sister.
It was a lifetime ago. Memories in ruins. I'm surprised there was anything left.
I just wish you'd told me. I would have understood.
What's done is done, dear Mimir. I appreciate your kind words.
And off we go. Ragnarok is over, but much remains for Kratos, Freya, and Mimir. Explore the surviving realms to discover the remnants of Asgard. Test your mettle in the crucible of Muspelheim. Seek out the fearsome berserker souls. Complete favors for your friends and allies. Adventure, challenge, and mystery await. Ratatoska awaits with new Yggdrasil seeds to help travel the realms. Okay, so remnants of Asgard is a thing now. Oh, we did it then.
Where to first?
We could take care of any lingering business in the realm.
Well, that is it then.
Or
how many hours did that take? 33 hours. About 34 hours it took us. And it's 10:30, so that's perfect.
investigate those pieces of Asgard.
Either way, we're with you, brother.
That's remnants of Asgard. Yeah, I did. I did enjoy it. I don't think I was as invested in the story as I was for the first one. Actually, let me quit the game. We'll just chat in a minute. Yeah, I think I can definitely see why it was Game of the Year. For the for I can see why it's Game of the Year material, 100%. Like visuals visuals for me is like up there with Rebirth in terms of like you just like you go out to like say go to Midgar and you're like, whoa. You go to Svartalfheim, it's just so detailed and crisp. The combat is still, very combat didn't change that much. Obviously, got a new weapon, the spear, which is amazing. I love the spear. The spear is really good. Yeah, Mir, perfect. Freya was cool. Thrud, love Thrud. I think she's fucking badass. I can definitely see being DLC, or like in the next game, there's DLC where you kind of like where you can have a little bit with Skit, like she did with Loki. You could have like a whole section with her as well. Like even if it was a bit where she finds Mjolnir, like you do a mission where you play as Thrud and find Mjolnir. That'd be really cool. So the thing I waited to say was, if you pay attention to the subtitles, when Odin pretends to be Tyr, the name shows as Tyr, but when it's the real Tyr, it shows as Tyr with the two dots. Oh. I see. I see. That's clever. Very clever. But yeah, I enjoyed the characters. Atreus did have some development. He's still a whiny little bitch, but he had some development. Yeah, I really liked, we say, Brock, Sindri, Kratos, Freyr, the brother, Fenrir being the massive Garm, like Hellhound. That's so cool. Angerboda, she's pretty cool. She's badass. Yeah, I think the things I would say, not like negatives, but like things I think things that I'm like not like blown away by was probably, yes, it was probably the combat, mainly, and sort of the story, because it's like, oh yeah, Ragnarok's happening and we've got to prepare. Like the last like 2 or 3 streams have been really really good, but yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at with it. Yeah, I could still give it like an 8 or a 9 out of 10, 100%. Personally, I mean. Like, it's still a fantastic game. 100% still a fantastic game. Even if you don't do it on stream, keep playing through the aftermath of Ragnarok. There's still a few things you'll like to see. Okay. Yeah, I'll probably do that off stream. When I can. Or if I remember, But yeah, that is God of War Ragnarok in the books. I can update my rank 1 I can update to say that I've finished it. But yeah, I'll definitely check out the like the post epilogue stuff. Yep. Yeah, so the next thing is going to be, have I got it installed? I think I should have installed. There you go, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Oh, there's music though. So that'll be the next game, is Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. So I'm excited for that. I mean, a little bit different. Obviously a PS5 title, so I'd imagine it's going to be a little bit shorter compared to God of War. But you know, we got through it. So that's good. You know, once we've done Ratchet and Clank, then we'll do Horizon Forbidden West, which is going to be very exciting. I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to that. The part was real fun. Yeah, I've heard a lot of very good things. Like I've heard it's like 10 times better than the PS4 version. So PS4 version, the PS4 like prequel, I guess, to it. But yeah, let's go see who's online then. We can raid out to. Oh, pardon me. I think we'll just end tonight. Yeah, I just had a quick look. I couldn't see anyone I'd fancied, so we'll just end it here for the moment. And again, thank you everybody so much for popping in during this playthrough of the game. I will be uploading it to my YouTube. Once I get time and download all the VODs, I can start pumping them out onto YouTube as, you know, in the streams that I did. And yeah, so look out for that. And then what's the day? Wednesday today? Yeah, it's Wednesday today, isn't it? So tomorrow we'll start. Do I start tomorrow? Because I'm doing Elden Ring with Ben Friday and Saturday. Should I just take tomorrow off? Could do. I'll see how I feel. Because if I start Ratchet and Clank and then on Thursday, it's not going to be then. I mean, like another couple of days. Like, you know, it's going to be like Sunday, Monday until we start playing it again. So I'll think about it. I'll sleep on it and then see how we go. I think. But yeah, I appreciate everyone coming in today and throughout all the playthrough of Ragnarok. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was for the most part very, very well done game. So kudos to them. And but yeah, I will hope to see you all next time for either the start of Ratchet and Clank, or if I don't see you tomorrow, it'll be Friday with some co-op Elden Ring with Ben. So we'll be jumping back in DLC and main game stuff. So look forward to that, and I will see you all next time. Till then, take care, stay safe, take care of yourselves. Have a good one, and again, thank you, Dreadclaw, for the raid as well. Before I go, appreciate that. Yeah, I will see yours next time. Bye bye for now.